Hello everybody and welcome to my channel and welcome to the Lazy Book Club, because I know you guys are all part of the Lazy Book Club that watch these videos. So anyway, as you all know, what month is it? It is still July. July's pick was Middle of the Night. I feel like we read Riley Sager's book every year and this year was no different. And next year if he puts one out, we'll probably read that one too. So as usual, most anticipated book of the year. Always excited to read Riley Sager's books because they are either 5 stars or I'm sitting there thinking, what did I just read? There's always something interesting going on with his books. So they're always a fun pick because you know people are going to feel extreme ways about it. He's a menace. Absolutely. Oh, and he just burped. He just ate. He just went outside for his morning walk and just ate. So he is in menace mode. But anyway, as usual, if you don't know what the Lazy Book Club is, we are a super chill book club that does not do lives yet. May still do one. And normally I give a list of books to pick from in like the community tab and you guys pick it and that's what we read for that month. But this one I picked. But you shouldn't be surprised. I think last year I put it in a poll and it won the Riley Sager book. So I was just like, let's just read the Riley Sager. I feel like it's a good pick because most people were gonna get it anyway. And yeah, so like I said, no lives. We just kind of chill. You can read the book whenever. I normally put one of these videos up at the end of the reading month or at the beginning of the next month. And that's kind of it. There is a video for the next book club picks out. I don't remember. I don't remember what August's book is. I really don't remember. I'll put it at the end of the video. I'll put it at the end. I gotta go check what it is. But we already have our picks August through the end of the year. We are not doing a book in December because there's just too much going on in December. I didn't want to stress people out like last year. So anyway, we are gonna read Middle of the Night. At this point forward, it is spoilers. This is a full spoiler vlog. We talk about all the feelings, all the things that happen, the points in it. If you have not read the book, it's probably not going to make a lot of sense because I reference the book a lot without explaining a lot. We will go into some explanations at the end, just it's not going to wrap up the book. You're not going to like understand the fine points of it just from this video. So if you just want to hear a random discussion about this and leave a comment down below about what you thought about it, definitely watch the rest of this video. But from this point on, it is spoilers. It is spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. So let's get into reading Middle of the Night. I'm so tired. It is early Tuesday morning. I just could not sleep last night. Oh my gosh, it was one of those nights where you just can't sleep, which really sucks because sleep is super important to keep my nerve pain a little more chilled out. So today might be a rough day. I'll probably take a couple naps throughout the day because I really did not sleep enough. So hopefully I can take a nap later. But the Olympics are on, so I don't know about that because I watch like every single Olympic event. I just catch up when I wake up later in the day. And we've got rugby today. We got the semifinals in rugby. We have a bunch of swimming today. We have women's gymnastics at 12:15. I'm definitely going to be awake for that. And I also want to run to Barnes & Noble today because I finished Apprentice to the Villain last night and I gave it a 5-star. Obsessed. Literally obsessed with it. I thought it was going to be like a 4 because it was a little silly goofy, but I ended up loving the fact that it was silly goofy and I gave it a 5-star. I loved it. So August 8th is when Apprentice, did I say Apprentice at the beginning? It's Assistant to the Villain. Apprentice to the Villain comes out August 8th, so next week, but I'm going to see if they have it early because sometimes, you know, they put stuff out early. If not, it at least gets me out of the house. I haven't left the house in like a week because I'm in a flare-up. So yesterday was a pretty good day. I'm hoping, today might be rough, but I'm hoping today just kind of is chill. So hopefully we can kind of get out of the house today. But what you guys are here for, I started Middle of the Night. I am listening to it on an audiobook because I really am not in a thriller mood. I'm really not in a thriller mood. So I'm hoping that doesn't affect my rating too much. That's what I am slightly concerned about. So I will probably be nicer to it. Like if I end it and I'm like, oh, it's probably a 3, I'll probably bump it up to like a 3.5. So I'll probably add 0.5 to whatever the rating is unless I legitimately just really hated it. Which is unlikely. I've never really hated a Riley Sager, except for Lock Every Door was my least favorite one. It is possible, but highly unlikely. And I think Lock Every Door was still a 2-star, and none of his books has ever gotten a 1-star. So, middle of the night, we have started. I am on chapter 4. We just got introduced to Ethan's neighbor. So, I really like how this opened up. This kind of gave us the lay of the land. It felt like listening to like a true crime thing where you go in, you introduce the characters, you introduce the crime scene, the layout of what happened, and then you kind of go from there. I really, really liked the layout of that. And I like it's just kind of weird already. Like, things are weird already. I did get a little confused listening to it because I thought it was Billy's parents that were divorcing, but it seems like Ethan's parents, well, not divorcing, but something happened at the mom's workplace, and I got confused. So Ethan's parents, so what have we learned so far? Okay, so Ethan is our main character. He is the main character or point of view in the current day. He is living in his parents' house. His marriage has just kind of fallen apart. We haven't really learned anything else about the marriage other than that something happened and he misses his wife. Doesn't seem like it was his decision to end the marriage. And then we also learn that Ethan was part of this like super famous missing persons case where Billy, his best friend, was sleeping in the tent next to him, and when Ethan woke up, there was a slash in the tent and Billy was missing and he has never been found. So that's kind of where we're at. Is Ethan deals with constant guilt. He's an insomniac and he hears things. He thinks he's hearing things, which is kind of creepy. The audiobook, it's cracking me up because it's making me laugh and it's creeping me out at the same time because there's like a scratching sound and the audiobook is like creak, and I'm like, I am at both amused and not amused at the same time. So he thinks he's hearing things. Obviously, he's probably not anymore. There's probably something going on. What else was I say? What else is going on? It doesn't, the police have ruled out Ethan's parents and Billy's parents. I think that's kind of most of the information so far. We just got introduced to Ethan's neighbor. Did they say Russ? I think it was Russ. And I think Russ did it. I'm just gonna put that out there now. Normally I'm wrong. Riley Sager normally has ridiculous twists at the end of his books. I think Russ did it. I think because they talk about how Russ, and they really harped on the fact that Russ was like the spare best friend, and that once Billy disappeared, Russ and Ethan became besties. And that's a little sus, especially because apparently, what did Russ say? Billy's gone, I'm your only, like, option left. And I was like, that seems suspicious. That seems, because Russ always wanted to go do things with them, and they would always say, like, no, or grudgingly bring him along. So that can definitely mess with a kid, especially if he thinks, like, Ethan could be his best friend and Billy's kind of standing in the way. So I definitely think that's a possibility. Russ lives directly next door. The police were suspicious of a next door neighbor because the slash came from like a certain direction. So that could be Russ who lives next door. Ethan just found, or the landscaper just found a baseball in the yard. And Billy used to have like a secret code for Ethan where Billy would throw the baseball. Billy was a weird kid. Love nerds, but he was a weird kid. Which there's nothing wrong with that, but he was a little bit odd. Threw a baseball into Ethan's yard. Ethan would know that's how Billy wants to play. Billy wants to hang out. And so the landscaper just found a baseball, brand new baseball in the yard. And Ethan is like, sus. I also found it was really funny because the landscaper was super aggressive, like audiobook. But even in the book, like rereading it, landscapers don't really care about that stuff. They just move it. Like they look at the yard before they do stuff. Like we used to have landscapers that do our yard, and my parents have one. Everyone in my parents' neighborhood have one. But they don't like come to their door and go, "Can you look out for this stuff in your yard next time?" They don't do that. Like we forgot about like our landscaper was doing our yard for 6 years, and it seems like that whoever's doing the parents' yard that's prepaid, they've been doing it for a really long time. So they wouldn't do that, like, because they're afraid of losing work. Like if they come to your front door and are like, you need to move all this stuff next time, someone's gonna fire you probably for that. So they don't. I thought that was really weird, and that's a really weird thing to stick out. But like, our landscaper would never, like, would never. My parents' landscaper would never. They're normally super nice. They understand you forget stuff in the yards, and they just move it. It's not that big of a deal. Like, we always would try to make sure everything was out of the yard, but like, my husband and I were both working one day. We did not know when they were coming, so he would come like random times during the week, and he showed up. And we had my husband's like golfing thing in the back, and I was like, oh shoot, because I saw him on like our Blink camera. He just moved it aside, didn't say anything about it. Lucas later like told him, hey, sorry about that, and he was like, oh, don't worry about it, it's fine. So they don't care. It was just a weird thing that stuck out to me. I'm sure they're annoyed by it, but they would never say anything about it because it would tick some customers off who are more entitled. So they just wouldn't do that. So I thought that was very strange. But I feel like it was used as a mechanism in the book to bring the baseball to his attention. It was just very strange because, yeah. Anyway, I know that was a really weird thing to go on like a sidetrack about. I'm enjoying it. I'm intrigued. I don't know. I have no idea where it's going. Well, I think Russ did it. I think Russ was jealous and saw that because like Russ would see them. I bet Russ knew that the baseball meant something, and Russ probably knew they were having the sleepover and he wasn't invited. And so I am curious if Russ showed up and attacked Billy. I don't know though. So yeah, I'm intrigued. This probably won't take me too long to get through. I'm just going to listen to the audiobook pretty much all day and give you random updates. So chapter 4 is at page 41. So we are, I think I said like 13% through the book. So it's not going to take very long. So hopefully this is good. I have high expectations. Hopefully they are met. I'll keep you updated. A small update. I'm sorry if you can hear the car. I kind of have an update. I'm outside of Barnes & Noble. I just went in seeing if Apprentice to the Villain came out early. Because like I said, just finished it. I really want to watch that or read that. So unfortunately did not find it at the first Barnes & Noble. I have another Barnes & Noble and a Books A Million to try to see if I can find it because I really want to start reading it. Anyway, I also just had to buy extra listening hours on Spotify because I used all my listening hours. So that was annoying. I am almost 50% of this book and I'm liking it. I am. I just feel like I don't have that much to say. I also feel like there's a lot of red herrings going on right now. I have a new working theory. I don't think there's ghosts. I love that Ethan is obsessed with this idea of ghosts and that Billy is just like around telling him things. I don't think there's going to be any ghosts in that. I think that's a red herring saying, hey, I've done ghosts before. Maybe I'm doing it in this one. I don't think we're doing ghosts in this one. I think my new working theory, I still think that Russ is involved. I now think that, because we're talking about his anger issues, I don't think Russ killed Billy, but I think Russ was the one who slashed the tent. I think that Russ found out that they were having a sleepover, and Billy clearly doesn't want Russ around, and I think Russ got jealous, ran over in anger, and kind of like slashed the tent to scare them and ran off. So we already know that Ethan sleeps like the dead. That's what they mentioned. My guess is Billy woke up for the slash tent thing, walked out of the tent, and maybe saw somebody else or saw something else. I don't know, but I think he walked off, and the reason they found his body near the Institute, which I don't think had anything to do with it, I think, again, that's a huge red herring. I think he maybe ran into Rajesh, who was apparently a bully, or ran into Ashley. Something about Ashley something's weird. But ran into somebody else, and that's who killed him on purpose or accidentally and then hit his body. So that's my working theory right now, and I don't have really that much else to say. Don't have that much else to say because there's not that much happening. It's just a lot of speculation and research, and again, I think we're going down a ghost rabbit hole that doesn't actually have to do with what happened. So I'm gonna go drive to the other Barnes & Noble. I probably won't have any B-roll in here. I'm trying to like get through these trips fast because gymnastics starts at 12:15, so I'm trying to get home before that. And yeah, I just the B-roll, I'm really bad at filming B-roll, so I'm just not gonna bother right now. But yeah, so I'm gonna try going to the other bookstore. Hopefully I find it at one of the two next ones. I knew his wife was dead. I knew she was dead. I didn't say anything because I thought it was too obvious. I knew she was dead because he never said the word divorce ever. Just said it was the last time she did this, last time she did this. Yeah, I knew it. My feeling excited that I was right in the previous clip. Wish I hadn't been, because that last chapter was brutal. That was, oh man, that has made me cry more than anything I've read in like a while. That was actually brutal to read and so well done. Like, oh my gosh. It's also thundering and lightning here. Oh my gosh. I still don't know how this is gonna end, but that was a beautifully written chapter. That definitely woke me up, because the book was kind of lulling me into like boredom, and that was like, even though it wasn't a surprise, it was just brutal. Absolutely brutal. Okay, I finished this last night, but I wanted some time to think about it. I'm kind of mad that I was so right. I was very close to having it almost exact. It just wasn't very hard to guess the ending, minus the accident. I kind of mentioned it could have been an accident. I just didn't know who the final killer would be. But I was suspicious of Ashley, and I knew Russ did it. Like, it was so obvious Russ was gonna be involved in this somehow with how he was characterized. So yeah, it's about what I thought it was. Billy didn't see Russ, but he was thinking it was ghosts, and that's why he left the tent. Because I was like, I bet Russ slashes a tent and Billy leaves for some reason, and I thought he would go to the Hawthorne Institute because of ghosts and stuff like that. But instead it was Ashley who hit him with the car. That's rough. We're gonna get into full spoilers. I pretty much just said the spoilers, but we're gonna get into full spoilers. I'm trying to think about my rating. I'm trying to think about my rating in comparison to other Riley Sager books, because I feel like that's how I rate Riley Sager books, is not comparing them to other books, but just comparing them within their own books, because I've read every single one of them now that I've read Middle of the Night. I had to adjust my Goodreads scores. I went on Goodreads to look at what I rated stuff, and I was like, these are all wrong. Like, these are all totally wrong. Lock Every Door, 4 stars on Goodreads, so I probably gave it like a 3.5 in my head when I was giving it that, but I don't like Lock Every Door. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea to give it that high of a score. I downgraded it on Goodreads. It's more like a 2.5. So Lock Every Door is my least favorite. Then last year's, what was it? The Only One Left? Is that what it was called? That one's like a 3. And then I think I have The House on the Lake, and then everything up from that is just 5 stars. So, and yes, Survive the Night. I loved Survive the Night, okay? I think it's because I had like just read Taylor Adams one, and so I just gave me the same vibes as the Taylor Adams one that everybody loves, No Exit. And so I just loved being back in that No Exit feel, and so it was just good vibes for me. I loved Survive the Night. So this one, this was not a fun book. This was not a fun book. And if you guys know my thriller taste at all, I like to have not like laughing. Fun as in trying to solve it is fun. The murder mystery, even though it normally is sad because thrillers and mysteries and murder things happening, but it's generally, I have a fun time with it. Like, I think that's why I like Home Before Dark so much, is yeah, there's tragedy in it, but it's just fun. Like, it is a fun mystery to try and solve. This was just depressing. This was so depressing. Oh man, but I think I liked the writing and the overall story in this better than The Only One Left, because I really did not like the twist at the end of that. I don't love the twist at the end of this either, but I don't know. I think I'm giving it a 3.5. I think I'm gonna put it above The Only One Left, but under The House Across the Lake, because I did like A House Across the Lake. I was like stunned by that one and what happened in that one. So yeah. I think this one was just, it was just sad. It was really just sad. So recapping the book, we have Ethan, who is our main character, although we had a lot of point of views in this one. I feel like we had way more point of views in this one than we normally have. But we had Ethan, our main character, who is in a split timeline situation where he is the main character in the present day, where he's 30 something years old or early 40s, something like that. And he moves back to his hometown, and it turns out that his best friend was kidnapped or disappeared out of a tent that he was sleeping in, and he doesn't know anything that happened. That is kind of the basic premise of this. And then the other side is we are back in the 90s, 94, I think. Yeah, 1994. And it is all the events leading up to Billy's disappearance. And it's just incredibly sad. It is incredibly sad because everyone's got a sad story. Like every single person, it's just depressing. Ethan is dealing with, we find out it's the death of his wife and not just separation and divorce. That is so depressing. And I guessed it too. I was like, I didn't want to say it because I was like, that seems so obvious. I feel like I'm reading into things. No, yeah, I was right about that. Claire was dead. Was her name Claire? I think her name was Claire. Claire was dead the whole time, and I figured it out because I had read or watched something else where the husband or wife was making phone calls and texting and not reading responses back. And that's how you kind of know, like, the other person's probably dead. But yeah, so so I figured that out. And that chapter, like, you saw me after reading that chapter. Pretty much from that point to the end of the book, just cried the whole time. Just cried the whole time. Like, when Billy showed up to help him find Henry, I was like... And then when he becomes a dad and you're thinking about how Claire, he wanted to actually end up... We'll get to that. Okay. I was tearing up a little bit thinking about it. But yeah, so Ethan has his sob story. Billy obviously was murdered as a child. That's depressing. And has the little younger brother who is a mess after his death. So that's just depressing for both of them. Then we have Russ, whose older brother died. We never get a lot of closure with that side of things. That really doesn't get brought up again. Although I think that was definitely a red herring because that again pointed back to the Institute. So that was a bit of a red herring. So everything I said that was a red herring was a red herring. Yeah, and like I said, Russ's older brother died and he wants to be best friends with Ethan, but Ethan is best friends with Billy and he doesn't understand that, and it's really, really sad from like a little kid's perspective that they just don't like to play with you, and that's really depressing. Oh, and then you have Rajesh, who turns out was in love with Johnny, who was the one who died, and he didn't realize it until after Johnny's death. So the last thing that happened between him and Johnny was a kiss that Rajesh said he was grossed out by. So that was depressing. Everything was just depressing. And then you have in the current timeline, you have Ashley, who has a son, and her father has dementia or Alzheimer's. I don't know if she said which one that he had. And that's depressing. So it's just every single person had a super awful sob story. So it was one sad thing after another. And it ends up so we're working through this book and they start handing us this paranormal side to the book, which I don't think was necessary. He's turning into the Simone St. James, I feel like, where Simone St. James likes to have something paranormal in every single one of her books. And Riley Sager didn't used to be like that, and now that's become, like, the expectation. Like, there has to, after Home Before, I think it was after Home Before Dark. I think every single book after Home Before Dark has something paranormal involved in the book, and it doesn't need to be that way. I was hoping this was not going to have something like that, but then when we started going down the Hawkins Institute rabbit hole, I was like, bro. And it was a red herring. It was important to the end plot line because that's why Billy gets out of the tent, because he thinks there's ghosts after having discussions with the president of the Hawthorne Institute. So I mean, it was important for that aspect, but done something else. Like, you didn't need ghosts and stuff included in there. You didn't need this Hawkins Institute. Again, that kind of all turns out to be a misunderstanding. We have the dementia, Ashley's father who has dementia. He keeps saying he sees whatever Billy's last name is. He sees one of the boys from the family, and that turned out to be a hint because he was seeing Andy and not Billy. So Ethan goes, I wish this hadn't been part of it, but Ethan goes through this rabbit hole of thinking Billy is still with him and a ghost, and I was just like so annoyed by that plot line. It was so annoying. It was like, no, let's not do that. And so it ends up being Andy who is kind of terrorizing Ethan to get Ethan to remember. Like, he doesn't think Ethan actually did it. He just thinks Ethan knows something and needs to remember it. And so that's also really sad. And he kidnapped Henry because he was like, this is the last resort. Like, I made Henry disappear, so maybe you'd think about it. At this point, we already know Russ had some involvement. Ethan did figure out a flashback, and he saw Russ outside the tent or something like that. So it turns out, yes, Russ slashed the tent, so I was right with that, and he runs off. He doesn't do anything. And it turns out, yeah, Billy woke up, walked out of the tent thinking it was a ghost. And I think we're the only ones who know that because Ethan was asleep. We get what happened to Billy based on Billy's point of view. So all that Ethan and everyone else knows is that the tent was slashed and Billy somehow ended up on the road. And that was foreshadowed early in the book, which was incredibly sad. Billy is leading them to the Hawkins Institute, and he walks backwards out onto the road and is almost hit by a car, and Ashley saves him. But this time Ashley is the one who hits him with the car. And that was so sad. That was so awful. It was awful and mean. It was so cruel because Ashley is such a good character. Like, she's just a good person. And obviously she's not a bad person. She didn't want to kill Billy, but she also is 15 and she's drunk. I don't know many 15-year-olds who would call the police on themselves. I just don't. Like, kids don't think things through like that. So from Billy's perspective, what we know is that, yeah, the tent was slashed. Actually, Billy doesn't even know that that would happen. He thinks it's a ghost. He leaves, thinks it's a ghost, follows it to the road, and that's where he gets hit by the car. So I hate accidents. I don't like books that have accidents as the thing that kills the person because it's normally always super depressing because the person who kills them is always a good person. And it's so sad every time, and this is not an exception. This was depressing as hell. So we're at the cliff with Henry, and Ashley blurts out, I'm the one who did it. And Ethan's like, no, you don't have to do it to get Henry back. And she goes, no, really, I hit him with my car. I was drunk, 15, didn't have a license. I shouldn't have been driving. And I took back roads to avoid police. And he stepped out and I hit him. And I sat with him for hours. And she even talks about how she was like almost trying to get caught. And when no one came down the back road, she wrapped him in a blanket and threw him over the falls. And it was like, that was so sad. Oh my gosh. And it's even worse because she has Henry. So obviously so Henry goes over the falls because Ashley takes a step forward towards him and he heard all of that, which is terrible. Falls over the falls, Ethan goes after him, and they both land in the water. And while Ethan is trying to find Henry, he feels something tug on him and pull him to Henry. And Ethan, for a minute, thinks that he's making stuff up. And Henry goes, did that boy help you too? So, Billy. And then he says, that was my friend Billy. And it was like, sobbing. I was so depressed. So depressing. I really thought we were actually going to have the very, very end of the book when he's, so Ethan takes over taking care of Henry because Claire gets like 10 years in jail, which I was really surprised about. But I guess drunk driving, hiding a body, even though it was an accident, it was manslaughter. So she gets 10 years with probation after 8. And she asks Ethan to adopt Henry because they get along so well. I do wish there was more of a relationship between Ashley and Ethan. So we saw, like, not even a romantic relationship. I just wanted to see Ethan with Henry more. I actually really liked those points in the book. And because it felt a little bit abrupt that she was like, take care of him, my dad can't do it. So, like, I guess she didn't have any other family. But it did seem odd that that was who she would pick. Anyway, that aside, I believed it. that was so depressing because then again, you're thinking of Claire wanting kids and yeah, and oh my God, the voicemail. So yeah, we found out that Claire was dead and he left a voicemail and there's a whole chapter of him finally letting her go and he's going through the messages, takes her phone out and listens to his voicemail, which is like, let's have a baby. And I was like, and she died of like an aortic aneurysm. So it was just like, oh my God. So she probably would have died at home anyway, but they found her sitting in her car, peaceful outside of a lake that she loved. And I was just like, God, this is one slap after another. Like, holy shit. Stop doing this. He just wanted to write a sad book. That's what he wanted to do. So yeah, the very end is him tucking Henry in and Henry reading and reading the ghost book that Billy was so obsessed with that Billy's mom gave to Ethan. I really thought Claire was going to show up at the end. Like, I thought we were going to get, like, a epilogue that was, like, Claire watching. Oh, man, Claire watching over them. Did you hear that? I told you this book made me super emotional. So anyway, even though this book really was an emotional gut punch, I don't enjoy reading murder stories about children. It makes me sad. I just feel sad and depressed after reading this, and I don't love that feeling. Like, I love that Ethan was with Henry, but it was just so depressing. So I'm giving it a 3.5. I also just wanted it to lean one way or the other. Like, I feel like this could have leaned more into the scary, because there were some parts I was like, oh, it's kind of creepy. I feel like this could have leaned more into creepy territory, and less about the paranormal Hawkins Institute thing. That really started to lose me. That's kind of where I was like, not vibing with this. So once Ethan started believing that ghosts were real, that's kind of what took me out of it. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I have lots of thoughts on this, obviously. This is a longer wrap-up than I usually do, I feel like. I would love to know what you guys obviously rated this. I want to know what you guys rated this, why you rated it the way you did. Definitely let me know what you liked about this book, what you didn't like. If you thought the ending was super emotional, if you guys cried, what you guys saw coming. This is a spoiler vlog, so you can put spoilers all throughout the comments. What you guys saw coming, what was a surprise to you guys, and maybe what you would have wanted done differently if you wanted something done differently. So I'm tired. This book literally exhausted me. And I read it all in one day. I did listen to it on audiobook for most of it, which I think was the correct choice. But it was exhausting. I'm tired. I just want to take a nap and it's 10 in the morning. So anyway, I think that's all I have for you guys. I mean, I did enjoy reading it. I wouldn't have given it above a 3 if I didn't enjoy reading it. So it was a good one. Still not exactly what I wanted from the next Riley Sager book. Again, I hope he doesn't do anything more with kids. I hate children things. I really do. So anyway, that's all I have for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy the book. I really hope you guys enjoy the book. I have a feeling some people are not going to enjoy this one. So make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, especially because, again, our next book, August 2024. Our next book is A Tempest of Tea. I am quite nervous about it because people have been giving it so ratings. But some of the people I saw not liking it are more adult fantasy readers. So I'm thinking maybe it was just too young adult for them. So fingers crossed that we like that one. So yeah, Tempest of Tea in August. Yeah, like I was saying, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet so you don't miss any lazy book club things. And definitely make sure you comment down below all your thoughts while you're reading and what you thought about the book. And that is everything, so I will see you guys in the next video.